The Great Hall of the Volante Empire was the largest room Danny Cole had ever seen. It stretched so far that he could not see the other end. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft blue and purple light. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually formed near the top. Danny stood near the back of the hall with the other observers from different planets. He was just a lieutenant from Earth, sent here to watch and report back to his commanders. Nothing more. Danny was 28 years old. He had brown hair that never stayed in place and green eyes that his mother always said were too honest. He was not tall or short, not strong or weak. Back on Earth, nobody would look at him twice on the street. He had joined the Space Corps because he believed that humans should make friends with other species, not fight them. His job was simple. Watch the ceremony. Take notes. Go home. The ceremony was called the choosing. Every 50 years, when a Volante princess reached the proper age, she would pick her mate from the suitors who came from across the galaxy. It was a big deal. Ships from 100 different worlds had come to the Volante homeworld for this event. Danny had counted at least 30 different species in the hall, and those were just the ones he could see. The Volante themselves were beautiful in a strange way. They had silver skin that seemed to glow from inside. Their bodies were tall and thin, with 4 arms instead of 2. Their faces looked almost human, but they had 4 eyes instead of 2, and their eyes were deep purple like gems. When they moved, it was like watching water flow. Everything about them was graceful. Queen Syraxis sat on a throne at the front of the hall. Her throne was made of something that looked like frozen starlight. She was old. Danny had been told, nearly 300 years old, but she did not look it. Her silver skin was smooth, and her 4 purple eyes watched everything with sharp attention. On her head sat a crown that seemed to be made of living light. Beside the throne stood the princess. Her name was Elindra, and she was the reason everyone had come. Danny had seen pictures of her before arriving, but the pictures did not do her justice. She was young for a Volante, only 80 years old, which was like being in her 20s for a human. Her silver skin had a faint golden tint to it, and her 4 eyes were brighter than her mother's, almost glowing. She wore a dress that seemed to be made of woven moonlight. The suitors stood in the center of the hall, arranged in a large circle. There were so many of them. Danny recognized some species from his training. The Korthax were there, huge creatures with bodies like armored beetles, standing 8 feet tall with shells that could stop bullets. The Methrani were there too, floating beings made of pure thought who communicated through telepathy. There were the Vorn reptilian warriors with scales like diamonds. There were the Silith, beautiful creatures with wings like angels. Each suitor was a prince or a lord or a champion from their world. Each one brought gifts and promises of alliance. Danny watched from his spot near the wall. He was standing with other observers, beings who had come to watch but not to participate. There was a small creature next to him that looked like a walking plant. On his other side was something that resembled a cloud of sparkling dust. Nobody paid attention to Danny. He was just a human, and humans were new to the galaxy. Earth had only made contact with alien life 15 years ago. In galactic terms, humans were babies. The ceremony began with music. It was not music like Danny knew. It was sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once, rising and falling like waves on an ocean. The queen stood and raised all 4 of her arms. The hall fell silent. "My daughter has reached the age of choosing," the queen said. Her voice carried across the entire hall without effort. "She will walk among the suitors. She will see their souls. She will make her choice, and that choice will be final. Let no one question the wisdom of the choosing." Princess Elindra stepped down from the platform where the throne sat. She walked slowly, her bare feet making no sound on the crystal floor. The suitors stood straighter as she approached. Danny could feel the tension in the room. Everyone wanted to be chosen. An alliance with the Volanthe Empire would bring power and wealth beyond imagination. The princess walked past the first suitor, a Korthax prince named Varth. He was massive, his armored body decorated with gold and jewels. He bowed his great head as she passed, but she did not stop. She walked past the Methrony Lord, past the Vorn champion, past the Silith prince with his beautiful wings. One by one, she passed them all without stopping. The room grew confused. Whispers started among the observers. Danny watched with curiosity. He had read about the choosing ceremony in his briefing documents. The princess was supposed to sense something in her chosen mate, some kind of connection that only the Volanthe could understand. But she was walking past everyone. Then she left the circle of suitors entirely. Danny blinked. The princess was walking toward the observers now. The whispers grew louder. This was not supposed to happen. The observers were not part of the ceremony. They were just watching. Princess Alindra walked past the plant creature. She walked past the cloud of dust. She stopped directly in front of Danny Cole. He froze. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst. The princess was looking at him with all four of her purple eyes. This close, he could see that her eyes had tiny stars in them, actual points of light that swirled like galaxies. She was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen, and she was looking at him like he was the only person in the room. "You," she said. Her voice was soft, like bells ringing far away. Danny opened his mouth, but no words came out. He did not know what to say. He did not know what was happening. Princess Alindra turned to face her mother. The entire hall had gone silent. Every eye, every sensor, every form of perception was focused on them. "Mother," the princess said, her voice now loud enough for everyone to hear. "He's the one I choose." The silence lasted for 3 heartbeats. Then the hall exploded into chaos. The Korthax prince roared with rage, his voice shaking the crystal walls. The other suitors shouted protests in a dozen different languages. The Volanthe nobles gasped and pointed. The observers backed away from Danny, like he had suddenly caught fire. Danny stood frozen in place. He did not understand. He was nobody. He was just a human lieutenant sent to watch a ceremony. He had not even spoken to the princess before. Why would she choose him? It made no sense. Queen Syraxis raised her hand, and the noise stopped immediately. Her 4 eyes fixed on Danny, and he felt like an insect under a microscope. The queen was not happy. He could see that clearly. "Daughter," the queen said, her voice cold, "explain yourself." Princess Alindra did not seem afraid of her mother. She stood tall and met the queen's gaze without flinching. "I see his soul, mother," Alindra said. "I see what he is. He burns with a light that none of the others have. He is kind without wanting reward. He is brave without being cruel. He is honest in a way that these princes and lords have forgotten how to be. He is human," the queen said. She spoke the word like it was something dirty. "They are children. They have barely left their own planet. They have nothing to offer us." "He has everything to offer," Alindra replied. "Things that cannot be measured in ships or gold." Danny finally found his voice. "Excuse me," he said. Everyone looked at him. "I think there has been a mistake. I am not a suitor. I am just here to observe." Princess Alindra smiled at him. It was a warm smile, full of kindness. "There is no mistake," she said. "I have been watching you since you entered this hall. I have seen how you look at others with respect instead of judgment. I have seen how you helped that small creature find its place when no one else would. I have seen your soul, Danny Cole of Earth, and I choose you." Danny remembered helping the plant creature earlier. It had been lost and confused, and Danny had guided it to the observers section because no one else seemed to care. It had taken 2 minutes. He had already forgotten about it. but she had seen it. She had seen something in that small act of kindness that meant more to her than all the gifts and promises of the princes. The Korthax prince, Vorath, stepped forward. His heavy footsteps shook the floor. "This is an insult," he growled. "I demand justice." Prince Vorath stood in the center of the great hall, his massive armored body shaking with rage. The other suitors had gathered behind him, forming a wall of angry aliens. Danny could see the hatred in their eyes. They had traveled across the galaxy for this ceremony, brought gifts worth more than entire planets, and a nobody human had been chosen instead. Danny wanted to run. Every part of his brain was screaming at him to get out of there. He was surrounded by beings who could crush him with a single hand. His ship, the Horizon, was orbiting far above. Even if he called for help, it would take too long. But he did not run. He stood his ground, though his legs felt like water. Queen Syraxis looked at Prince Vorath with cold eyes. "You speak of justice," she said. "What justice do you seek?" "I invoke the right of challenge," Vorath said. His voice was deep and harsh, like rocks grinding together. "It is the ancient law. When a suitor is rejected, he may test the worthiness of the chosen one. If the chosen one fails, he dies, and the princess must choose again." The hall went silent. Danny felt his blood turn to ice. He looked at Princess Alendra, hoping she would say something, hoping she would stop this madness. Alendra's face was pale. For the first time, she looked afraid. "Mother, please." The right of challenge was made for testing warriors and princes. This human is not trained for such things. It would be murder. "The law is clear," Vorath said. "The right of challenge applies to any chosen mate, regardless of species or station, unless the princess wishes to withdraw her choice." Everyone looked at Alendra. Danny could see the struggle on her face. If she withdrew her choice, Danny would be safe. But she would have to choose someone else. She would have to spend her life with someone she did not want. Danny made a decision. "I accept the challenge," he said. The words came out before he could stop them. His own voice sounded strange in his ears, like someone else was speaking. But once he said them, he could not take them back. Alendra grabbed his arm. Her silver fingers were cool against his skin. "No," she whispered. "You do not understand. The trials will kill you." "Maybe," Danny said quietly. "But I cannot let you give up your choice because of me. You saw something in me worth choosing. I want to know what that is. I want to prove that you were right." The princess stared at him. Her 4 purple eyes were wide with shock. No one had ever spoken to her like this before. No one had ever been willing to die for her choice. Queen Syraxis leaned forward on her throne. "Human," she said, "do you know what you have agreed to? The right of challenge has 3 trials. A test of mind, a test of body, a test of spirit. Many warriors stronger than you have died in these trials. You have no training, no experience, no power. Why would you accept certain death?" Danny thought about the question. He thought about his life back on Earth, about his small apartment and his boring job and his dreams of making a difference in the galaxy. He thought about the princess who had seen something in him that he could not see in himself. "Because running away is not who I am," Danny said. "Because if I run now, I will spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been. And because the princess chose me, and I want to be worthy of that choice." Prince Vorath laughed. It was a cruel sound, like metal scraping against metal. "Foolish human, you will die screaming in the first trial. But your courage is amusing. I will enjoy watching you fail." The queen raised her hand. "The challenge is accepted. The trials will begin tomorrow at sunrise. Until then, the human will be given quarters in the palace. He's not to leave or contact the ship. The trials must be faced alone." Guards appeared beside Danny. They were Volanti soldiers in silver armor, tall and silent. They gestured for him to follow. Danny looked at Alindra one last time. "I will see you again," he said. "Please," she whispered. "Please survive." The guards led Danny through endless corridors of crystal and light. The palace was even larger than the Great Hall, a maze of rooms and passages that seemed to go on forever. Finally, they brought him to a small chamber with a bed, a table, and a window that looked out over an alien city. The guards left without speaking. Danny heard the door lock behind them. He was alone. Danny sat on the bed and tried to think. What had he done? He had accepted a challenge that he could not win. He was going to face trials designed for alien warriors with powers he could not imagine. He was going to die. No, he could not think like that. He had made his choice, and now he had to see it through. Danny went to the window and looked out at the city below. It was beautiful. The buildings were made of the same crystal as the palace, and they glowed with soft colors in the fading light. Ships flew between the towers like birds. Volanti people walked the streets, their silver skin shining. He wondered what Earth was doing right now. His mother was probably at home, watching her old movies and wondering when he would call. His father was probably at work, still angry that Danny had chosen diplomacy over the family business. His sister was probably taking care of her kids and complaining about her husband. Would they ever know what happened to him? Would they ever know that he had been chosen by an alien princess and died trying to prove himself worthy? A knock came at the door. Danny turned as the door opened. A young Volanti entered. He was male, with silver skin like all his people, but his eyes were green instead of purple. He carried a tray of food. "I am Pox," the young man said. "I have been assigned to serve you during your time here." "Serve me?" Danny said. "I thought I was a prisoner." "You are a guest," Pox said. He set the tray on the table. "A guest who cannot leave, but a guest still. The princess insisted that you be treated with respect." Danny looked at the food. It was strange, shapes and colors he did not recognize, but it smelled good. He realized he had not eaten since morning. "Can I ask you something?" Danny said. Pox nodded. "Of course." "The trials. What are they exactly?" The queen mentioned a test of mind, a test of body, and a test of spirit. "But what does that mean?" Pox sat down across from Danny. His green eyes were thoughtful. "The first trial is the Maze of Whispers. It is a labyrinth that exists partly in physical space and partly in mental space. As you walk through it, it shows you your worst fears and memories. It tries to drive you mad. If you lose yourself in the maze, you die." Danny swallowed hard. "And the second trial?" "Combat," Pox said simply. "You will fight Prince Vorath in single combat. No weapons except what your body provides. The fight continues until one of you cannot continue. Until one of us is dead, you mean?" "Not necessarily. But Prince Vorath is a Korthax warrior. His shell can stop plasma fire. His strength can crush stone. No human could defeat him in direct combat." Danny nodded slowly. "And the third trial?" "No one knows," Pox said. "The third trial is different for everyone. It looks into your soul and creates a test based on who you truly are. Some say it is the easiest trial. Others say it is the hardest. It depends on what is inside you." Danny pushed the food around on the tray. His appetite was gone. "Why are you telling me all this?" "I thought the Volanti wanted me to fail." Pox looked toward the window. "Not all of us. The princess is loved by many. We have seen how the noble suitors treat our people, how they look at us with greed and ambition. But when you entered the hall today, you helped a lost creature find its way. You did not even think about it. It was just who you are." He turned back to Danny. "Some of us believe the princess chose well. Even if I die tomorrow?" "If you die," Pox said, You will die with more honor than any of those princes have ever known. That is worth something. Danny looked at the young Volante. He was surprised to find that he felt grateful. In this strange palace, surrounded by beings who wanted him dead, he had found something like a friend. "Thank you, Pox," he said. "Rest now," Pox said, standing. "Tomorrow will be difficult. But remember, the trials test more than strength. They test the truth of who you are. And I think the truth of you is stronger than you know." Pox left, and Danny was alone again. He ate some of the food, though he barely tasted it. Then he lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Sleep seemed impossible, but somehow, eventually, it came. He dreamed of Earth. He dreamed of his mother's face and his father's voice and his sister's laugh. He dreamed of green trees and blue oceans and the smell of rain on hot pavement. He dreamed of home. When he woke, the sun was rising over the alien city, and it was time for the first trial. Danny woke up in pain. Every part of his body hurt. He opened his one working eye and saw a ceiling of crystal above him. Soft light filled the room, and strange machines hummed around him. "Do not move," a voice said. It was Pox, sitting beside his bed. "The healers have done what they can, but your body is badly damaged. You need rest." Danny tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. Pox held a cup of water to his lips, and he drank gratefully. "How long?" Danny managed to ask. "You have been asleep for 2 days," Pox said. "The final trial is tomorrow." The Queen wanted to delay it longer, but Prince Vorath insisted on following the traditional timeline. He says you do not deserve special treatment. Danny almost laughed, but it hurt too much. "He beat me nearly to death, and he thinks I am getting special treatment." "He respects you now," Pox said quietly. "I have seen the way he looks at you. He did not expect what you did in the arena. No one did. Standing up again and again, even when your body was broken. It changed how people see you. It changed how I see myself," Danny admitted. He had not known he had that kind of strength inside him. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, as average, as nothing special. But in the arena, when death was certain, he had found something he did not know he had. The door opened, and Princess Alendra entered. Her silver skin seemed paler than before, and there were shadows under her 4 purple eyes. She looked like she had not slept in days. "Leave us," she said to Pox. The young servant bowed and left the room. Alendra sat on the edge of Danny's bed. Her hand touched his, and her fingers were cool against his damaged skin. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I should not have chosen you. I have caused you so much pain." Danny shook his head, even though it hurt. "Do not be sorry. You gave me the chance to find out who I really am. That is worth more than you know." "You could die tomorrow," Alendra said. Her voice broke. "The mirror of truth has killed warriors far stronger than you, and there is nothing I can do. The law forbids me from interfering." "Tell me about the mirror," Danny said. Alendra was quiet for a moment. "No one truly knows what it is. Some say it was created by the gods. Others say it is a piece of the universe itself, older than the stars. When you step through it, it looks into your soul and creates a trial based on who you truly are. It finds your deepest desire and your greatest fear, and it uses them against you. What happens if I fail? You will be trapped forever inside your own mind. Your body will die, but your consciousness will remain, caught in an endless loop of the mirror's making. It is said to be a fate worse than death." Danny closed his eyes. He thought about his deepest desire. What did he want more than anything? He thought about his greatest fear. What terrified him most? He realized he did not know the answers. And maybe that was the point. The mirror would show him things about himself that he had never faced. "I will survive," Danny said. "I have come too far to fail now." Alindra leaned down and pressed her forehead against his. In Volanthi culture, it was the most intimate gesture possible, a sharing of breath and warmth and life. "I believe in you," she whispered. "I chose you because I saw your soul, and it was beautiful. Show the mirror what I saw." She left, and Danny was alone with his thoughts. The next morning, guards came to bring him to the final trial. Danny could walk now, though every step hurt. The healers had done good work, but his body was far from healed. He moved like an old man, slow and careful. The trial was held in a different location, a small temple at the top of the highest tower in the palace. Danny climbed hundreds of steps to reach it, his breath coming in painful gasps. When he finally arrived, he found only a small room with a single object in the center. The mirror of truth thought it was not what he expected. It was simply a frame of dark metal, taller than a man, with a surface that reflected nothing. When Danny looked at it, he saw only blackness, deep and endless. Queen Cyrexis was there, along with Prince Vorath and the other suitors. Princess Alindra stood apart from them, her hands clasped together, her face tight with fear. "The final trial," the queen said. "The mirror of truth will test your spirit. Step through and face what waits on the other side. If you return, you will have proven yourself worthy. If you do not return, you will have proven that my daughter chose poorly." Danny looked at the black surface of the mirror. He felt fear, real and deep, but he also felt something else. He felt ready. He stepped forward and touched the mirror. The world dissolved around him. When Danny opened his eyes, he was standing on Earth, not just anywhere on Earth. He was standing in his childhood home, in the living room where he had spent so many hours as a boy. The furniture was exactly as he remembered. The old couch with the stain on one arm, the television that never worked right, the photographs on the wall. But something was different. Through the window, he could see not a suburban street but a paradise. Green forests stretched to the horizon. The sky was pure blue, without a trace of pollution. In the distance, he could see towers of crystal and light, a perfect city where poverty and war did not exist. "Beautiful, is it not?" a voice said. Danny turned. A figure stood in the doorway, but it was not anyone he knew. It was himself, but not himself. A version of Danny Cole who stood taller, who wore fine clothes, who radiated power and confidence. "Who are you?" Danny asked. "I am you," the other Danny said. "Or rather, I am who you could become. This is your deepest desire, is it not? To make a difference, to matter, to build a better world." Danny looked out the window at the perfect Earth. "I wanted to help," he admitted. "I wanted to bring humans and aliens together. I wanted to build something that would last." "And you can," the other Danny said. He walked closer, and his eyes gleamed with something dark. "The princess has chosen you. When you marry her, you will have access to the power of the Volanthi Empire, the technology, the resources, the influence. You could use that power to reshape humanity. You could make Earth into what it should be. You could become the most important person in human history." Danny felt the temptation pulling at him. It was strong, stronger than he expected. He had always wanted to matter. He had always felt like he was on the outside, watching as others did great things while he stood by. "All you have to do," the other Danny said, "is take what is offered. Use the princess. Use her empire. Use everything you can to achieve your goals. The ends justify the means, do they not?" Danny looked at his other self. He saw the ambition there, the hunger for power, and he understood what the mirror was showing him. It was showing him his greatest temptation, the darkness that lived inside him. "No," Danny said. The other Danny raised an eyebrow. "No, you would refuse paradise? You would refuse the chance to change the world?" "I would refuse to become you," Danny said. His voice was steady now, clear and strong. I did not accept these trials for power. I did not stay for glory. I stayed because a woman I barely know saw something in me worth choosing, and I want to understand what that means. I want to learn. I want to grow. Together, as equals, not as a user and a tool. The other Danny's face twisted with anger. You are a fool. You could have everything. Everything except my soul, Danny said. And that is not a trade I am willing to make. For a moment, the other Danny stared at him with pure hatred. Then, slowly, the figure began to fade, dissolving into light. The house around Danny began to crack. The perfect world outside the window shattered like glass. The floor beneath him fell away, and Danny was falling through darkness. Falling forever. Then he heard a sound. It was the sound of his own heartbeat. Strong and steady. Danny opened his eyes. He was standing in the temple again, in front of the mirror of truth, but the mirror was different now. Cracks ran across its dark surface, spreading like a web. As Danny watched, the entire mirror shattered, falling to pieces on the floor. The room was silent. The queen's mouth hung open. Prince Vorath's eyes were wide with shock. The other suitors stared at Danny like he was something impossible. Princess Alien ran to him. She threw her arms around him, holding him tight, her body shaking with sobs. You broke it, she whispered. In 10,000 years, no one has ever broken the mirror. You are the first. Danny held her back, feeling her warmth against him. He was still not sure exactly what had happened, but he knew one thing for certain. He had faced himself, the best and worst of who he was, and he had made his choice. Not for power, not for glory, but for something far more important, for truth. The maze of whispers stood at the center of a great arena. Thousands of Volanthi had gathered to watch. Danny stood at the entrance, looking at the twisted walls that rose before him. The walls were not solid. They shifted and moved like smoke, changing shape constantly. Prince Vorath stood on a platform above, watching with his small dark eyes. Other suitors had gathered around him. They were all waiting to see Danny fail. Princess Alien was there too, sitting beside her mother. Her face was tense with worry. Danny gave her a small nod, trying to look braver than he felt. Queen Syraxis stood. The first trial begins now. The human will enter the maze of whispers. If he emerges within 1 day, he passes. If he does not emerge, he dies. 1 day. Danny had thought he would have less time than that. Maybe there was hope after all. A guard pushed him forward. Danny took a deep breath and stepped into the maze. The world changed immediately. The noise of the crowd disappeared. The light from the twin suns vanished. Danny found himself standing in complete darkness, with only the faint glow of the shifting walls to guide him. Then the whispers started. They came from everywhere at once. Soft voices speaking just below the level of understanding. Danny could not make out the words, but he could feel them. They crawled into his mind like worms, digging for his deepest fears. He started walking. The maze twisted and turned in ways that made no sense. Passages that should have led forward somehow brought him back to where he started. Walls appeared where there had been open space. The whispers grew louder. You are nothing, a voice said. It sounded like his father. You have always been nothing. A disappointment. A failure. Danny kept walking. Why did you leave us? Another voice said. His mother this time. You abandoned your family to chase stupid dreams. Now you will die alone on an alien world, and we will never know what happened to you. Danny pressed his hands against his ears, but the voices were not coming from outside. They were inside his head. A shape appeared in front of him. It was a man, lying on the ground, his body burned and broken. Danny recognized him. It was Ben Howard, one of the colonists from Proxima Station. Ben had been alive when Danny found him after the reactor breach. Ben had asked for help, and Danny had not been able to save him. "You left me to die," Ben said, his voice weak and accusing. "You promised you would come back." "You lied." "I tried," Danny whispered. "I tried to save you." The door was sealed. I could not get through. "Excuses," Ben said. "You were scared. You ran. You are a coward." Danny fell to his knees. The guilt crashed over him like a wave. He had carried the memory of Ben Howard for 5 years, had dreamed about it countless nights. It was his greatest failure, his deepest shame. "I am sorry," Danny said. Tears ran down his face. "I am sorry I could not save you. I am sorry I was not strong enough." Ben's shape began to fade. But as it did, something changed. Danny felt the weight on his chest grow lighter. He used the words he had never been able to say. He had admitted his failure out loud. The whispers continued, but they seemed quieter now. Danny stood up. He understood something. The maze was not trying to kill him with monsters or traps. It was trying to kill him with his own mind. If he denied his fears and failures, they would grow stronger. But if he faced them, if he accepted them, they would lose their power. He kept walking. The maze showed him more. It showed him the time he had lied to his sister about missing her wedding. It showed him the girl he had loved in college who had left him because he was too afraid to commit. It showed him every mistake, every regret, every shameful secret. And Danny faced them all. "Yes," he said to each one. "I did that. I failed. I was wrong. But I am still here. I am still trying to be better." Hours passed. Danny lost track of time. The maze seemed endless, but he kept moving forward. He did not run from the shadows that appeared. He did not hide from the voices that accused him. He met them head on, accepted them, and moved past them. Finally, he saw light ahead. Danny stumbled toward it. His body was exhausted. His mind felt stretched thin, but he was still himself. He had not lost his way. He had not gone mad. He stepped out of the maze and into the sunlight. The crowd was silent. Danny looked around, confused. Everyone was staring at him like he was a ghost. Pox ran to his side. 3 hours, Pox said, his voice filled with awe. "You finished in 3 hours. The previous record was 3 days. Danny blinked. 3 hours? It felt like forever. Princess Alien was crying. Her tears were like liquid silver running down her cheeks. But she was smiling. Queen Syraxis sat frozen on her throne, her 4 eyes wide with shock. Prince Vorath stepped down from his platform. His massive body moved toward Danny, each footstep shaking the ground. "Impossible," Vorath said. "You cheated somehow. You had help." "No help," Danny said. He was too tired to be afraid. "I just walked." Vorath snarled. "The second trial will not be so easy, human. In the arena, there will be no tricks, only strength. And you have none." The second trial was scheduled for the next morning. Danny was taken back to his room, where Pox brought him food and water. He slept for 12 hours straight, his body recovering from the mental torture of the maze. When he woke, Pox was sitting beside him. "The arena is ready," Pox said. "Prince Vorath has been preparing all night. He is angry. He did not expect you to survive the first trial. Does he have any weaknesses?" Danny asked. Pox thought for a moment. "The Korthax are slow. Their armor is heavy, and it takes time for them to turn or change direction. But their strength is incredible, and their shells are nearly unbreakable. If he hits you even once, you will be crushed. So I need to not get hit. For the entire fight, yes. And the fight only ends when one of you can no longer continue." Danny nodded. It was almost impossible, but almost was not completely. The arena was a circular pit surrounded by seats that rose high into the sky. The floor was hard stone, worn smooth by centuries of combat. Danny stood at one end, wearing simple clothes. He had no armor, no weapons, just his body. Prince Vorath stood at the other end. His armored form gleamed in the sunlight. He was huge, nearly 3 times Danny's size. His 4 arms ended in claws that could tear through metal. Queen Syraxis raised her hand. The second trial begins. Combat continues until one fighter cannot continue. There are no other rules. She dropped her hand. Vorath charged. The ground shook with each step. Danny waited, every muscle tight, watching the alien's movements. At the last moment, he dove to the side. Vorath's claw smashed into the stone where Danny had been standing, leaving a crater a foot deep. Danny scrambled to his feet and ran. He needed distance. He needed time to think. Vorath was slower than Danny, but not by much. Every time Danny thought he was safe, the prince was there, swinging his massive arms. Danny ducked, jumped, rolled. He used every bit of speed and agility he had, but it was not enough. A claw caught him across the chest, sending him flying. Danny crashed into the arena wall, feeling ribs crack on impact. Pain exploded through his body. He tried to stand, but his legs gave out. Vorath walked toward him slowly. "I told you," the prince said. "You are nothing. Your courage means nothing. Your kindness means nothing. Only strength matters, and you have none." Danny coughed blood. His vision was blurring. He could hear the crowd cheering for Vorath, calling for his death. Then he heard another voice. Princess Alindra, shouting from the stands. "Get up, Danny. Please get up." Danny put his hand on the wall. He pushed. His broken ribs screamed in protest. His legs shook. But he stood. Vorath's eyes widened. "What are you doing? You cannot win. Lie down and die with dignity." "No," Danny said. His voice was weak, but clear. "I do not give up. I never give up." Vorath hit him again. Danny flew across the arena and crashed into the ground. He could not feel his left arm. Something was broken in his back. Blood covered his face. He stood up again. The crowd went silent. Even the suitors stopped cheering. Everyone watched as the broken human rose to his feet for the second time. Vorath hit him again. And again. And again. Each time, Danny stood back up. 2 hours passed. Danny could no longer see from one eye. His body was a mass of bruises and breaks. He could barely walk. But every time Vorath knocked him down, he got back up. Finally, Vorath stopped. "Why?" the prince demanded. "Why do you keep standing? You cannot hurt me. You cannot win. What is the point?" Danny spat blood. His voice was barely a whisper, because giving up was never an option. Vorath stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, the great prince stepped back. "The trial does not require his death," Vorath said to the queen. "It requires that he prove the worth of his body. He has taken more punishment than any warrior I have ever faced and refused to fall. I concede that his body is worthy." The arena exploded into noise. Danny heard none of it. He collapsed to the ground, finally allowing himself to rest. He had passed the second trial. The weeks that followed the trials were a blur of ceremonies and celebrations. Danny Cole, the human nobody from Earth, had done the impossible. He had passed all 3 trials. He had broken the mirror of truth. And now, by ancient law, he was to marry Princess Alindra of the Volanthi Empire. Not everyone was happy about this. Queen Syraxis had given her blessing, but it was clear she still had doubts. She watched Danny with careful eyes, looking for weakness, looking for proof that her daughter had made a mistake. The noble families of the empire whispered about the human in their halls. calling him an outsider, a primitive, a stain on the royal bloodline. Prince Vorath and the other rejected suitors had returned to their homeworlds, but their anger remained. Danny knew that somewhere in the galaxy, powerful beings were plotting against him. The Korthax Dominion in particular had taken the rejection as an insult. There would be consequences down the road, but Danny tried not to think about the future. He had enough to deal with in the present. Learning Volanti customs was harder than any of the trials. Everything was different. The way they ate, the way they spoke, the way they showed respect or affection or anger. Danny made mistakes constantly. He used the wrong hand to greet a noble and caused a minor scandal. He accidentally insulted a priest by walking on a sacred floor. He mispronounced the queen's name in a way that meant something very rude in the ancient tongue. But he kept trying. And slowly, very slowly, the Volanti began to accept him. It helped that Alindra was always by his side. She taught him the language, explaining the subtle differences between tones that could change the meaning of a sentence completely. She showed him the hidden gardens of the palace, places of quiet beauty where they could escape the constant attention. She told him about her childhood, her dreams, her fears, and Danny told her about Earth. He described the blue oceans and green forests, the cities of concrete and steel, the billions of humans living their small and precious lives. He told her about his family, about the father who never understood him, and the mother who always supported him, and the sister who drove him crazy, but who he loved anyway. "Your world sounds beautiful," Alindra said one evening. They were sitting in one of the hidden gardens, watching the twin suns set over the crystal city. "I would like to see it someday." "You will," Danny promised. "After the wedding, we can go. I want you to meet my family." Alindra smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "They may not accept me. I am very different from a human." "You are different," Danny agreed. "But different is not bad. Different is just different. My mother will love you because you make me happy. My sister will love you because you are kind. My father might take some time, but he will come around eventually. How do you know?" Danny took her hand. Her silver fingers were cool against his skin, but he had grown used to that. "Because I know what you are inside, and anyone who sees that will love you too." The wedding was the largest event the Volanti Empire had seen in centuries. Ships came from 100 worlds to witness it. Humans came too, the first official delegation from Earth since Danny's arrival. Ambassador Kate Liu led the group, and she pulled Danny aside before the ceremony. "Do you understand what you have done?" Kate asked. Her voice was serious, but her eyes were warm. "Relations with a dozen species are shifting because of you. The Volanti Empire has never accepted an outsider before. Other species are looking at humanity differently now, wondering what else we might be capable of." Danny adjusted the strange formal robe he was wearing. The Volanti clothes were uncomfortable, but he was getting used to them. "I did not do it for politics," he said. "I know," Kate replied. "That is why it worked. If you had been trying to impress them, if you had been playing games and seeking power, they would have seen through it instantly. But you were just being yourself. And apparently, yourself is exactly what they needed." The ceremony itself was long and complicated. Danny had to memorize 1,000 words in the Volanti language, perform rituals he did not understand, and stand for hours while priests chanted blessings over him. But through it all, Alindra was beside him, guiding him, supporting him. When they finally spoke the final vows, something happened. A light surrounded them both, bright and warm, visible to everyone in the great hall. The Volanti gasped. Even Queen Syraxis looked shocked. "The soul bond," Alindra whispered. "It happened. I was not sure it would, since you are human. But it did. We are connected now, truly connected." Danny could feel it. A warmth in his chest, a presence that was not his own. He could sense Alindra's emotions, her joy and love and wonder. And he knew that she could sense his. "Does this mean we can read each other's minds?" Danny asked. Alindra laughed. "Not exactly. It is more like we will always know how the other feels. We will never be truly alone again." Danny smiled. "I think I like that." The celebration lasted for 3 days. There was music and dancing and feasting. Delegates from different species came to offer their congratulations, some sincere, some grudging. Danny shook hands with beings he could barely comprehend, accepted gifts of strange objects whose purposes he did not understand, and tried his best to remember all the names and titles. On the third night, he stood on a balcony high above the crystal city. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting silver light over everything. Below, the celebration continued, but Danny needed a moment of quiet. Footsteps approached behind him. He knew without turning that it was Alindra. "My mother spoke to me today," she said, standing beside him. "She admitted that she was wrong about you. She said that watching you face the trials, watching you refuse to give up, watching you choose truth over power, it changed her mind. She believes now that I chose well." "That is good," Danny said. I was getting tired of her staring at me like I was going to steal the silverware. Alindra laughed. It was a beautiful sound, like music. "You have changed so much since you arrived. You are more confident now, more sure of yourself. The trial showed me who I really am," Danny said. "I spent my whole life thinking I was ordinary. But the maze showed me that facing your fears is its own kind of strength. The arena showed me that refusing to give up matters more than winning. And the mirror showed me that power is meaningless if you lose yourself to get it. What do you want now?" Alindra asked. "You could have anything. You are married to a princess. You have influence over one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. What will you do with it?" Danny thought about the question. A few months ago, he would not have had an answer. But now he knew. "I want to build bridges," he said, "between humans and Volanthi, between your empire and other species. I want to help people understand each other. I want to show them that being different is not a reason to fight, that kindness is not weakness, that the galaxy is big enough for everyone. That is a big dream." "It is," Danny agreed. "But I have you beside me now. And together, I think we can do anything." Alindra moved closer, and Danny put his arm around her. They stood together, watching the moons rise higher in the alien sky. Somewhere below, the celebration continued. Somewhere in the galaxy, enemies plotted against them. Somewhere on Earth, Danny's family was waiting to meet his new wife. There would be challenges ahead, struggles and conflicts and difficult choices. But for this moment, everything was perfect. Danny Cole had traveled across the stars looking for purpose. He had found something better. He had found love. He had found himself. And he had shown the universe that humans, for all their weaknesses, had something special inside them, not strength, not power, not technology or weapons or wealth, not just heart. And sometimes, that was enough. The moons continued their slow climb across the sky. The crystal city glowed beneath them. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other species were starting to pay attention to the small blue planet called Earth, wondering what other surprises these strange, stubborn, surprisingly brave creatures might have in store. Humanity had taken its first, true step into the galactic community, and the universe would never be the same.